Dude, what's going on, Scotty?
Where the hell are you, dude?
Bro, I am sitting here in the home office. New, refreshed look for the podcast going on, man. Shit.
Bro, this is the weirdest experience we've had on the podcast. This is the first time not being in the same room, and it feels a little strange.
It does. A little bit different. Um, let's talk about for those who typically watch the podcast, I know either on Spotify or on YouTube, we've got a little bit of a different look. And this is what we think is going to be the best way to position this podcast moving forward. Why don't we just give a little bit of background and context as to why we made the change?
So, yeah, I mean, the people watching right now, you're going to notice Cade and I are in different rooms, different places. We've been running this podcast for coming up on almost 5 years. And over the last 5 years, I mean, our mission has stayed the same. The look has changed. But this is the first time in the 5 years we've been doing this that the mission is changing. And with the development over the last 5 years, we felt it was needed in order to keep the podcast alive and to continue doing what we can to bring value to the community.
Absolutely. I know when we were brainstorming this kind of refreshed look for the podcast, we were really proud of the mission statement that we started with, which was the podcast was aimed at young adults looking to build wealth and financial freedom through buying, selling, and investing in real estate. I know we mulled on that for a little bit and still very, very proud of that mission statement. I think for the past 5 years that we've been doing the podcast, it's been a mission and mission statement and almost, I think we're above 150 episodes now worth of trying to stick to that mission statement. Very, very proud of the job we've done, but I know now that the spot you and I are in, we've tackled some really big projects over the past year or so, both individually and as part of our team. We've stepped into leadership roles for management and trying to become better leaders. And our goals have just shifted a little bit. And I think the audience for our podcast has shifted a little bit. And we've got a lot of you listening and watching who aren't at that very first step one stage. You guys are tackling bigger problems, bigger opportunities. And I think that's been the biggest thing that Scott and I wanted to give this facelift to the podcast for was what can we do to continue providing great content, bringing on amazing guests, but maybe change that mission a little bit for the better to better serve our listeners and our subscribers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, back in 2020 when we decided we were going to do this, and I shared it not too long ago, the first podcast, Cade, you weren't even in it.
I know.
This was a bit of a pipe dream that we could make something happen. And over the last 5 years, I mean, we've had on guests that did their first deal. We've had coaching students in the community reference directly back to this podcast. I think, we've learned from the people around us that we were gifted a lot of knowledge, and our job is now to give that back to other people. And we really held true to that mission. And I think over the last 12 to 18 months, we've really just elevated to a different stage where I feel confident putting that chapter to rest, saying we've given as much information as needed to take action and get your first deal. Now we're transcending the podcast with our own story, and we're figuring out, like, you and I, the same way we were brand new when we kind of were starting this podcast, now we're brand new to this whole new mission. And our goal is to let this podcast almost be like a video memoir to ourselves, to other people, to our kids, of the personal progression that you and I have made. And I feel really confident that, anybody who goes back to the last 5 years of podcasts, they will have the information needed that's applicable to get their first deal. And after they get their first deal, now they've started their journey, and we need to work with them and work with the people and work with ourselves, frankly, to get to a point where we become business leaders. I know you and I both really value the leadership aspect of our current positions, but also become community figures and a place where entrepreneurship isn't as lonely or as uh, I'm trying to think of the word, maybe not desperate, but dire. It doesn't feel so treacherous. And so you and I are going to be sharing what we're doing now, the things that get us really excited. We have a lot of big problems that we're now solving, and I feel more comfortable sharing it knowing that the mission is aligned with what we're sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you touched on a couple really great things there too. I think one of the things I'm most proud that you and I have done over the past 5 years with our podcast specifically is that I felt like we've done a very good job of not claiming to be the experts. You said a phrase kind of, I don't remember what word you used, but it's almost been just kind of like a live stream of us trying to build the plane as we fly it. And as we learn that stuff, we're immediately going and sharing what has worked, what hasn't worked. I mean, we did a whole season on buying our out of state rentals. We went all the way up to 9. We're all the way down to 4 now. So there's been a ton of learning lessons, ton of amazing guests that we've had on, and none of that's going to change. I think this new method of delivery, moving the podcast to a more virtual environment, is going to allow us to connect with higher level business people, entrepreneurs in the space, so that we can more easily bring on ideally some higher figures that can provide content to not only us as we can sit and listen, but obviously eventually to our listeners.
Yeah, no, I agree. I use the word video memoir
The
because at the
memoir,
end of
that's
the
right.
day, I'm going to look back. They say that what goes on the internet's forever. I'm going to be able to look back and, in my 70s, see 19 and 20-year-old Scott and Cade. We never, like you said, we never claimed to be experts. We always claimed to be just giving what we know, learning real hard lessons, really developing over the years. And what stands out to me is, you and I talked about this with the personal transaction on my house. 5 years ago, I couldn't have predicted that you and I would be in the seats we're in right now. We're very proud of where we're at, and we're both really doing everything to become excellent, but we're not experts. And so 5 years from today, we're going to look back at this episode and we're going to feel the same way I felt about the first episode. And so I'm just really excited. We've really developed a group of people, that listen in and that get value from that. And I also think it's something that you and I really enjoy doing. And at the end of the day, we've never set this podcast out with the mission to make money, but we've made money, from it, and the people around us have made money. And so I'm excited. This isn't the ideal setup. I prefer belly to belly. I even say that in my seller conversations. I'm kind of old school. I like to shake the hand of the person I'm talking to. But in order for you and I to meet with the people that we find enthralling and energizing, we need to expand our market. And we have a great network of people here in Fresno. And in order for us to really become elite worldwide, we really need to tap into a worldwide network. And so, I'm excited to be on virtual, taking this step. I am sorry if any of our audio or video looks not great. We are rookies in this space. And so our goal here is to really make up for any errors that we make with the content we provide, and setting a clear expectation that we're documenting our journey as we go along.
Yeah, and I mean, for those of you guys listening or watching who have been with us for a few years, I mean, Scott, remember the very first video studio, like when we first introduced video to the podcast. I think we've cycled through 2 or 3 different in-person studios. We started in a tiny ass office over at the Keller Williams building, filming from our cell phones. And so, with this being the first iteration of the virtual podcast, for all of you guys out there, bear with us. I promise we will get this dialed in. But you're exactly right. I think I was reflecting on, I just want to give a shout out to those, whether you're a new listener, a new subscriber, or have been with us since the beginning. We were just pulling up the statistics from our YouTube channel and from the audio version of the podcast. The audio version, we're at above 12,000 streams across all of our episodes. On YouTube, strictly on YouTube, we're above 20,000 views on all of our videos that we've pushed out since we introduced YouTube. And so it's been a while since we looked back on the stats of the podcast. We've got 92 subscribers on Spotify specifically. And so just want to give a huge thank you. Obviously, Scott, you and I are doing something right if we continue to have people tuning in. And so I know we just want to continue to bring that value to you guys without asking for anything in return. Scott, you hit the nail on the head. You and I have been very blessed and are in a position to where, no, we don't know everything, but we've been very lucky to know some stuff and have been through some stuff. And as we're building the plane, as we're flying it, we know there's going to be a ton of more content, learning lessons, opportunities to come back and share with the podcast.
100%. And, we've been approached about running ads and things like that, and it just doesn't align with our core mission, which is giving back freely. And, I'm excited. I treat this as a win-win. I hope that the people listening here understand that our objective here is just to freely pass on the learning lessons and the constant improvement that we're trying to make in our life. And then also, there's the side quest that, I'm excited one day to look back and see the development. How many hundreds of hours do we have recorded now? At some point in my life, I'll have that time to go back and say, wow, this wasn't luck. This was consistent effort over a long period of time. So with that, Cade, why don't you share the mission statement that we came up with? It's subject to change, but we feel this better memorializes how we feel the podcast is going to look and feel for the next, chapter of this.
Absolutely. So the refreshed version of the Pursuit of Property podcast, it's a modern playbook for individuals chasing growth, building wealth, and living with intention. It's a podcast grounded in timeless principles, unwavering faith, and a relentless drive for improvement.
What's funny is I gave it a couple days to just ponder on it, and you rereading it, there's not a single sentence in that or a single statement in that does not only identify with the podcast, but also identify intrinsically with myself as what I'm striving for.
Yeah. And I mean, we opened, this episode with, we knew we had a kick-ass mission statement to start with. If we were going to move forward with this shift, we needed to be in absolute alignment with what that new mission statement was going to be. And I think I agree with you 100%, not only on an individual level, but both of us and our goal and our mission for the podcast. Very, very happy with that new mission statement, and just excited for this new chapter of the podcast and how we can stay true to that mission for everybody who's with us.
Yeah. Well, I know that you and I haven't figured out every single detail of what this new version of the podcast looks like, but I do want to kind of speak openly for the people that have been subscribed, that have been really interested in our prior goals and objectives. I want to set the standard for what to expect moving forward, so that if it doesn't align with what they want to do, you're welcome to tune out. But hopefully it aligns with where you're at in life, and maybe you find it interesting and you stick around and give us a chance. But the last 18 months, I became a dad. We have more team members than ever. Cade, you're getting married, you bought a house, you've kind of elevated to this next level of who Cade is. What we found was continuing to talk about the same things over and over. We felt stagnant and we felt it wasn't beneficial to the listeners and it wasn't exciting for us. And so moving forward, the podcast isn't going to be a weekly podcast. Our ideal expectation here is every other week. And the reason that we're extending this to every other week is that, we get caught up in the day-to-day of things and there may not be something that's really impactful. And our goal is to always bring impact in each podcast. And so moving forward, our goal is to have 2 podcasts a month. One hyper-fixated on the sales and acquisition and disposition and running of a sales program. That's kind of the podcast I'll be more hosting. And then Cade's would be the opposite, right? More of the operations, the business finance, the back end side of the business. In our line of work, the flashy sales stuff sometimes gets more views, but we have gotten a really impactful feedback from people that got a lot of value from the mentorship that Cade's provided and his brain, his willingness to share how he thinks of problems and his willingness to step in and maybe provide solutions and support. So we're really excited about that. It's the types of things that make us excited to wake up in the morning and problem solve. And so if you've been listening and your goal is to get that first deal, I recommend to you that you take the time to go back over the last 5 years of podcasts that give you those detailed, these are the learning lessons we learned early on in our business. These are the things we were doing. These were the things that woke us up in the morning, and really dive into that. And if you're a business professional and you're running a team, whether or not it's in real estate or something else, moving forward, these are going to be really more geared towards you and the people that have big dreams and big goals and want to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head too. I think obviously the name of our podcast is the Pursuit of Property Podcast. We will always have that real estate undertone to the podcast. Obviously, your and I's day-to-day is mostly all real estate. I think with this new mission statement, it also allows us to venture out a little bit and have a little bit of fun in terms of other business practices, building wealth, lifestyle development, building, kind of that dream life and dream mindset. And so I think while we will always have those real estate undertones, we'd love to continue and will continue bringing in kick-ass real estate guests. I think widening the scope a little bit to business practices and principles in general, like you said, with both of us in our leadership roles, a lot of what we're learning and a lot of what we're dealing with is not just strictly applicable to a real estate team or in the real estate industry. And you and I are connecting with people, if not daily, every week, who are providing advice, guidance, and learning lessons to us who aren't even in the real estate field, but very, very successful people. And I think with this new mission statement, being able to bring in all of that information and stay true to our new purpose is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, I fully agree. And this pivot towards this business acumen, really, it's universal knowledge. And so, in application, you're going to see very often, this is in our real estate endeavors, but, down to dialing in customer experience, that is not a real estate specific issue. That is a all business issue. And, creating financial pro formas and understanding how to run a business when you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, that is not real estate specific. That is every business. And so hopefully we pick up some interested people and like-minded individuals in other sectors. We will absolutely be talking to people outside of real estate in this podcast moving forward. But ultimately our lived experience is in the real estate sector. And so if you are in real estate, I hope that this has even more actionable items and copy and paste opportunities for you and your business.
And I know we've prided ourselves, Scott, on our relationship with those who do listen and subscribe to the podcast. And again, I would make the same ask to you guys listening or watching right now that Scott and I have consistently asked of you guys is if there are any specific problems that you guys are working through or want to get guidance on, or you guys networked at a mastermind and met somebody who made an impact on you and had really, really great things to say, we want that open feedback loop with you guys. The only way that we've been able to do this podcast for 5 years and bring on amazing guests has been because of you guys and the relationships you guys have brought to us. And so I would just continue to ask that of you, our listeners and subscribers, is please keep that open line of communication with us. That way we can continue to refine our podcast and our content even more to what is helpful for you.
100%. I'm really excited about the pivot. Thank you to all the people, both viewership and also behind the scenes, that have helped us get to this point. There's going to be some rough patches here as we make this adjustment. We wanted to get consistent effort and content out. I know that this isn't going to be perfect. And so give us some grace as we work through the process of this transition, and understand our key mission here is to give value. We wanted to set proper expectations so that those who have been listening for years know what to expect moving forward. I already know of 3 or 4 different topics that I'm excited about that this opens the door to. And I'm certain with the velocity that our company is at and the personal growth that you and I are undertaking right now, we are going to have so many opportunities to talk about massive successes, massive failures, huge objectives and learning opportunities. I think this is going to get back to the place that it was when I first started the podcast. It's a little scary. I'm a little uncomfortable sharing some of these things on camera, but looking back, if we went back 5 years, I would not have held back from any of the episodes we released. The good, the bad, the ugly, it was all part of the story. And so I'm excited for a new adventure.
That's it, baby. That is it. Well, dude, I think that checks the boxes of what we wanted to share with you guys. Again, bear with us as we continue to refine this new outlet of delivering the podcast to you. I know Scott and I, we've also gotten really excited with this refresh on stuff behind the scenes just to make the podcast visually better as well. And so we're very, very excited to be working on that stuff behind the scenes and to be able to bring that to you guys, hopefully here in the next few weeks, month or two. But stay tuned. We are very excited. Welcome to the new refreshed version.
Thanks, guys.